As you can see there, I am using my sketchbook and I'm using a size 10 brush, round brush, and I'm just wetting the whole area. And all the drawing you need to do at the beginning is just a sort of a line, sort of 3/4 of the way down from the top there. I've used some washi tape as well around the outside edge, so it'll create a lovely white border. But you can obviously paint these straight onto watercolour cards as well. I'm painting wet on wet here using some yummy cerulean blue, and I'm using a little bit of turquoise as well. You can use all sorts of different blues. I've done this with my students and they use sort of cobalt blue with some cerulean. So you can really play around with lots of different blues to try and achieve some really lovely effects. So painting the sky wet in wet. I've left a gap so it shows where the white of the snow is there, and just paint a little bit of blue in the foreground as well, all wet into wet with my size 10 brush. So you can see it's a really nice, easy card, especially if you're starting out in watercolour and you want to paint yourself a Christmas card. I'm using a spritzer bottle here. I'm just spritzing away some of this blue. I felt it was a bit dark, and I quite like using a spritzer bottle because it kind of leaves some lovely, soft, atmospheric marks there. And I'm just taking away the excess with some paper towel. So you can see everything's lightened up there quite nicely actually in the snow area. And I'm using a lifting off technique, lifting off with my paper towel here, just to sort of reveal more of the white of the snow. And I think it's a good time to let my painting dry. Once your painting is dry, what I'm using here is a stencil and my stencil brush to lift off these big white circles, which you can actually see in the photograph. And this is the Bokeh technique. It's really effective for creating sort of blurry distance here, but I thought it'd be fabulous to paint lots of sort of variation of Christmas cards using this technique. So this is my first one painting a Christmas card, but if you want any more details about this technique, I've got a couple of tutorials I made recently, which I think you'll enjoy using this amazing technique. If you don't have a stencil brush, you could use a synthetic brush, which is what I'm using here, or you could use a Q-tip or a sponge or anything, even paper towel, damp paper towel to lift off. If you don't have a stencil, you can just work in a circular fashion, just going around and around with your brush as well and lift off, or use a Q-tip. And that's exactly what I'm doing here with my stencil brush as well. And after you do that, just sort of dab it with a paper towel just to remove any excess liquid. It's really, really effective. Try to vary the size of your little circles and maybe don't lift off as much paint on some, so you leave a residue of pale blue paint as well. Is quite effective. So it's actually turned out a little bit differently. I was going for that sort of blurry bokeh effect, but actually it looks like really large sort of snowflakes. So I'm quite pleased with that. So it's a good time to allow your painting to dry again. And once it's dry, you can sketch in a very simple tree. It can be like the tree in the photograph, or you can simplify it even more. It's just a lovely, simple focus of interest here. And I'm using my small size 2 brush to paint wet on dry. You could use Paynes grey or indigo or black even, mixed with a little bit of blue. I've turned my painting upside down because I find it easier to paint trees, especially winter trees, upside down, because I pull the brush towards me rather than sort of trying to keep my hands steady going up the paper. So I hope you find that helpful. What I'm doing now is I'm using a dry brush effect. So I'm painting with the belly of the brush and sort of just brushing it very gently onto the surface of the textured cold press surface. And it's just to really give an impression of all those tiny small branches at the top of the tree there, rather than painting every single one in there. You can also use a sponge to do this technique. So it's a good time to allow your painting to dry. Once your painting is dry, you can mix up some white gouache or white watercolour or even white acrylic paint. Water it down, and I'm using my size 6 brush here, and I'm spattering this white paint onto the dry painting. And you can have lots of fun with this. Just make sure that you mask out other areas in your house there. I don't want you getting it on anything valuable. But watercolour does wipe off, but it is a good idea to mask things out. But it's so much fun to do this. It creates light, it creates some texture, and also the look of a snowy day, a snowy sort of winter scene. I'm removing the washi tape now to reveal a lovely white border. It's a nice way of presenting your work in your sketchbooks, but also if you're doing little holiday cards or Christmas cards, it's quite nice at presenting it on the card as well. It also gives me an opportunity to see if I need to do any more to the painting, and I just felt this area here was a bit dark, so I'm spattering it again with some of the white gouache. But I think I'll leave my painting there for now. Here is the finished painting. I really hope you enjoyed the technique, especially the lifting off of those circles using the bokeh technique, and also the spattering with the gouache as well. If you have any suggestions for Christmas cards, please put them in the comments section below. And if you have any questions about this tutorial, please put those in the comments section below. If you like this tutorial and you'd like to see more like it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You'll get updates of my latest tutorials. And for longer, more in-depth tutorials with lots more tips and techniques, access to downloadable sketch outlines, ad-free content, check out my Patreon membership. Details about that can be found in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Happy painting. Bye for now.